Good evening, everyone. I hope you've had a wonderful Sunday. I'm going to start this evening with a disclaimer, and not the sort you'd normally expect. I'm going to tell you, anyone watching this, that you should disregard everything I say, assume that I'm just a joker. You should not continue watching if you are offended by swearing, because there's likely to be a lot of that in this evening's live stream. And anything I say in this video cannot be taken seriously, because I'm telling you right now to disregard it. I'm probably wrong about everything. I don't mean anything I say, and I have no qualifications anyway, so don't even watch it, okay? If you're worried about this other thing. But if you are willing to watch me talk a load of nonsense and swear a lot and get very passionate and disregard everything I say and assume that it's all wrong, then hopefully you'll enjoy this evening's live stream. And I'm going to start by just, I don't know if anyone else has found this stuff. Has anyone here come across this stuff? Coffee beer. This is a fantastic example of a solution for a problem that didn't exist, right? I love Guinness. I've always loved Guinness. I love Guinness as it is. I also like coffee. I even like espresso martinis, and I think perhaps that's what they were trying to do here. Like a beer equivalent of an espresso martini, but guys, nobody needed this. The marketing guys at Guinness, this doesn't solve a problem. It tastes awful. I'm going to force my way through the 4 cans that I've got of this, but just not a good idea. That's definitely going to go down as a marketing failure. Right. Why did I give you that weird disclaimer? Well, let me just recap, especially for those of you who are new to my channel. Welcome to all of you who are new to my channel since the last live stream, both on YouTube and on TikTok. And thank you very much. My name is Charlie Lambden. This is Moving Home with Charlie. I'm also the founder of the property website Best Agent. And my mission, ultimately, in my career is a home for everyone, okay? And right now, given my 20 plus years in this industry, I see the highest risk of people losing their homes due to repossession because of negative equity and ending up with a debt that they didn't borrow strapped around their neck even after they've lost their home. Just my personal opinion. Disregard it if you don't agree, it's fine. And so my mission with these videos right now, my specific timed, the reason for these videos at this time, the reason I'm doing more live streams than normal at this time, is because in my view, the risks of negative equity and therefore people losing their homes are the highest they've been in about 30 years, 35 years, okay? And some of you said, oh yeah, but most people will be fine. Cool, great for most people. There are a lot of people who are not going to be fine. And that is why I do these videos, okay? To help first-time buyers especially, and any other buyers who are planning to buy a property now with a very large mortgage, as in more than 65% mortgage loan to value, to say that if you are going to go ahead and buy now because you found your dream property and you can afford it, please don't overpay and figure out for yourself whatever that means. Personally, I'd be continuing to wait a few weeks, as I predicted, as I said a few weeks back, I'd wait a bit longer for the dust to settle, for the political and financial turmoil, which we're going to come on to in a minute. And my reasons for saying that is to try to help reduce the number of people who are going to have their lives fucking destroyed by negative equity, okay? Not everybody who's in negative equity will lose their homes. I'm not saying that. But if you are trapped in negative equity and you want to move, you won't be able to. And that can be a bit life restricting and a bit of a nightmare. But that's my mission, okay? And for those of you who are wondering what negative equity is, I've put a link in the description of the YouTube video to the article in the Times, which is entitled, Should I Be Worried About Negative Equity? All right. And it talks to some people who have lived through it and talks about how their lives were ruined by it, okay? So if you're watching on TikTok, you need to go to my YouTube channel to see this video, and in the description you'll see the link to that. Or just Google the article and you'll find it on the Times website. So, update. What's happened since my last video 72 hours ago? 3 days ago, I did a live stream. And in that live stream on Thursday, I said, are we about to have a change of Chancellor? And less than 24 hours later, we'd had a change of Chancellor. And what's happened has been really interesting since then. And I'm just going to recap it. So since my last live stream, Kwasi Kwarteng was sacked for doing his job. Didn't do anything wrong. He was just doing the job he was asked to do and delivering the budget that his boss had agreed for him to deliver. Jeremy Hunt has been appointed as Chancellor, and Liz Truss is facing questions over the credibility of her leadership. And this is all relevant. And I remain politically neutral in all of these. There's, of course, a million different political opinions on this, but that's not what this show is about. I just discuss events and how they are unfolding and how that will directly impact the housing market. That's all I'm here to talk about. Okay. So those are the changes. New Chancellor and Prime Minister clinging on to power. And I did a survey on my YouTube channel. I just put it up yesterday, and I'll share it on screen now. And I've had over 500 views since I did it. And the question was, ignoring your political feelings, how does Jeremy Hunt, being the new Chancellor of the Exchequer, make you feel about your planned move? And really interesting results here, right? So 33% of you, a third, and this was the largest answer of the four, said you've got no idea, you're just fed up with it all. And that, I thought that would get some votes. I didn't realize it was going to be the most popular answer. The second most popular answer, with 29% of the 532 votes, is it all depends how the money markets react now and on the 31st of October when Jeremy Hunt releases his new updated mini budget. It's effectively what's going to be a fiscal statement. Okay. 28% of you said you feel like there's still yet more uncertainty ahead because Liz Truss is still the Prime Minister. Okay. And only 10% of you said that you feel better because there's now going to be less uncertainty ahead, presumably because you think Jeremy Hunt is a slightly more credible Chancellor. All right. So that's how over 500 of you feel. A third of you have no idea. You just fed up. Nearly 2/3 of you, so 60, just under 60%, think that there's more uncertainty or it depends on the money markets. And only 10% of you think it's looking better than it did 3 days ago. Right. I should point out now that whatever happens next, I don't think it's going to change very much what's going to happen to house prices either way. I do think it will affect how quickly it happens, and I think it will affect how much disruption there is to the housing market in the short term. That's definitely going to be affected by whatever happens next. But ultimately, I don't see the ultimate bottom of the housing market being affected by whatever happens next. Sorry, my phone does not like a TikTok live stream. Now, I've got a link to, so the Resolution Foundation, which is a think tank, put out a lot of data into an article which was published in the Times. I think it was in the paper Times this weekend. It was in the online Times yesterday. And I'll just share with you this graphic from it, okay? Because one of the questions I get asked the most is, what do I think interest rates are going to do? So this is what the Resolution Foundation thinks interest rates are going to do. And I don't know if you can see that, but basically what it's saying is that the floating interest rate is going to be staying above 7% for the next 5 years. And they have based that forecast on, there's a link to the whole article, including all of this data, in the YouTube video description. You can go and check it out, right? But this is worse than anything that I have currently forecast. This is a shock to me. The Resolution Foundation is I don't know anything about it, right? But it seems to have credibility. But if you look at what they're predicting to happen to the 2-year and 5-year and 10-year rates, they are all at or just above 6% for at least the next 5 years. And the floating rate, the standard variable rate, even higher than that. Okay, now, I've also put in the description of this video a link to another video on YouTube from a pension advisor on YouTube, and this is what he says, and he's a very, very methodical guy. Okay, one moment, let me just get his how far will house prices fall video up. And let me just show you this on screen, okay? You go and watch the video yourself by all means, but this particular slide is basically showing that without a buyer changing anything, the effective interest rates just going up by 1% and 2% and 3%, so up to 5%, he hasn't even put in what it is at 6%, has reduced how much of a mortgage can be afforded from 193,000 down to 139,000. If you extrapolate that another percent, it's you're talking about 60 to 70,000 pounds being reduced from how much someone can borrow, even though their circumstances haven't changed, just as the effective interest rates, right? That's a 60 to 70,000 pound reduction in how much a first-time buyer can afford to buy with an £825 a month budget for their mortgage. Okay, go and check it out. These are just mathematical facts that you can crunch, okay, yourself. So all of these things I'm sharing with you so that you can see how badly affected the housing market is going to be, come what may, politically, okay? Because the only major question mark left now is, does Liz Truss stay in her post or not? And this is the dilemma that I want to talk about on the rest of this this live stream. You guys are now ready for this. I'm just going to come back to the TikTok, get those resume. There we are. Forgive me, guys. Technical issues. So I think my personal observation of what's happening in the political landscape now is that Jeremy Hunt actually has enough experience and credibility, potentially, to calm the markets. But whether or not he can do that depends on whether or not Liz Truss can stay in power. Because if she can't, if she either resigns or is somehow or other forced out by the Tory party, then it's going to create uncertainty over Jeremy Hunt's position, and its uncertainty levels back up to the red line of uncertainty. Now, none of this is what I think should or shouldn't happen. This is just my observations on what could happen and what the effects of it will be. And what I see happening now is this. I observe an argument or a debate happening inside the Tory party where one half of them are saying, if we don't get rid of her now, we have zero chance of being re-elected whenever the next election comes. So half the Tory party is saying, we get rid of her now or we give up on the next election, right? But if we get rid of her now, maybe there's a chance to turn it around and have a new leader in that wins us back the next election. And the other half are saying, no, if we throw yet more uncertainty out there, which is going to cause yet more economic turmoil, then that's why the voters will punish us in the next election, whatever it will be. So the dilemma the Tories have got is, do they put the country and the economy and the people first by simply seeking to achieve stability and calm as soon as possible, which is what Jeremy Hunt is trying to do and what he's saying, at the likely expense of them losing, because if Liz Truss stays in power, she's just definitely not going to win an election, is she? There's just no way. Or do they go for a leadership contest and leadership replacement now to get control of the party again, but in doing so lose all credibility and definitely lose the next election? It's a nightmare for them. I mean, there's just no good option for them here. Either Liz Truss stays in power as a leader with no credibility and limps on until the next election, which she's going to lose, or they change leader. If they're going to change leader, the sooner they do that, the better. But if they do that now, if in the next 7 days there's any sign of a leadership change in the Tory party, I think that the financial markets will go into meltdown. Okay, so I have no idea which one of those things is going to happen. I cannot see which one's going to happen. At the moment, it looks a little bit like Jeremy Hunt staying in power. There's a Freudian slip. Jeremy Hunt really is the guy in power now, isn't he? Not Liz Truss, right? If Jeremy Hunt stays in position, that's what I meant to say, in position, and can persuade the Tory party not to replace Liz Truss as leader now, then some calm will be restored to the money markets. Because all the money markets want is certainty. Whatever's going to happen, they just want to know. If they know what's going to happen, they'll adjust, and then business as usual can carry on, which means that mortgage lending can come back to normal, and the housing market can resume ordinary operations of people having to move house and getting mortgages to do so. Whatever the political landscape is, if there is stability and some certainty, then normal operations can resume. But if there is political uncertainty, then there will be financial uncertainty, and normal operations cannot resume in the housing market. All right? So the way I see it is either the Tories say, let's put the economy and people first and have stability now as far as we can get it, which is keeping as we are, keep Liz Truss in power, no more change of leadership because we'll lose credibility, and hope for the best that by the next election they've somehow pulled out of the bag. Or the people more worried about the Tory party itself are going to go, no, we'll definitely lose. We've got to change leader right now. Guys, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't have a view on which one of those is likely to happen. Gut feel is that the people who are trying to push for leadership change are going to continue pushing for leadership change until they are persuaded that that's actually the worst option, okay? And that Jeremy Hunt staying with Liz Truss as Prime Minister is the least bad option for them. I don't have an opinion on that either way. I think the whole thing is just a complete, absolute amateur night clusterfuck as far as the Tories are concerned. It's just a nightmare, and it's a nightmare for us, and it's for movers and people whose businesses are around. I mean, it's just horrific what's happening, and I think the Tory party is never going to be forgiven for what it's done this year to this country and its economy. I know there are global things as well. That's how I think this is going to unfold. Now, back to my mission of minimizing negative equity and people falling into it. I have had a mortgage broker contact me and communicate to me news that he's had from mainstream lenders that suggests that at the coalface, things are far worse than anyone is reporting, and that's in the mortgage business. And he's saying this, and he's saying he cannot come out publicly because he's regulated. Fine. And he's also saying, implying that he knows that most mortgage brokers want to stay in business, but his view is that unless something massive changes in the next few weeks, that mortgage broking itself is going to be in big trouble, because what interest rates are going to do to the mortgage industry is effectively wipe out half of it, at least, for the foreseeable future. All right. And he is saying that unless something changes, he himself will be pivoting with his business and not trying to keep on flogging a dead horse of generating new business leads when there won't be any, or it will be far, far fewer new business leads in the mortgage business, right? Now, I've been sipping steadily on my coffee-flavoured Guinness, which is disgusting. Try to calm myself down before I get on to the last part of this video. After which I will take some questions. Now, I'm just a random bloke on YouTube with an opinion, okay? Some might say that I've got a relatively informal opinion, some might say not. That's fine. I actually welcome constructive debate, a constructive disagreement. I welcome, because the reason I welcome it, I'm not just saying it, right? I genuinely welcome finding out when I'm wrong, because I learned something and I can stop being wrong. And I have been, all the way along that I've been predicting this housing market Armageddon, right? I've been waiting for someone to come to me with an argument, an actual reason, not just a, yeah, but what about supply and demand? An actually reasoned, intelligent argument about why it's not going to happen. And I haven't had one. Now, I've got no problem with people disagreeing with me. I've got no problem with people saying, Charlie, you're an idiot. You're just wrong. I think, frankly, they're the idiots because they aren't actually reasoning it. But it doesn't bother me. It doesn't wind me up. I've got no problem with people who just don't believe me. That's fine. But there's one small group of people with whom I have a massive problem, because they are the people who are going out of their way to try to shut me up and stop me. And in doing so, are putting, in my view, far more people at risk. And it comes down to what kind of human being you are. Are you a human being who says, dog eat dog, caveat emptor, buyer beware, you pay your money, it takes a chance, it's just business, it's not illegal, so I'll say whatever I need. In other words, you're someone that will just put your own ability to earn a living before that of your customers, right? And as far as you're concerned, if you making your commission means your customers are worse off, well, hey, that's their lookout, right? I've actually had people say that to me recently. You can hear me getting angry already, right? I'm about to get angry. Okay, warning, I'm about to get angry. And I can't stop people. If that's how you want to run your business, that's your business, right? You're gonna inflict damage on your customers' lives. That's your choice. You got to sleep with yourself at night. And some of the people doing that are convincing themselves that it's okay, right? And genuinely don't think they're doing any harm. And that's that happens. I can't stop that happening, right? But what I can stop happening, and what I will stop happening, is anybody from that cohort of people who think it's okay to sign customers up to stuff that makes you get your income, no matter what happens to them. I can stop you trying to stop me. Okay? Now, the way I see it is this. Someone on Twitter said that, I can't remember, someone came up with a metaphor, maybe it was even me, I can't remember, that I'm standing on a beach and I'm sounding an alarm saying, guys, everyone watch out, there's a tsunami. Get out of the water, clear off the beach because there's a tsunami coming. I've seen the seismographs from the other side of the ocean and I know it's coming. Okay? Now, some people have listened to me and gone, oh, wow, thank you. Thanks for the evidence you've shown. We're going to get out of the way now. And some people have already scarpered from the beach. Others have gone, yeah, we hear what you say. We disagree. We're going to stay on the beach. Fine, no problem with that. Some people have said, Charlie, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. And I've got no problem with that. But some people have come along to me on the beach. This is the metaphor I'm using to describe what's happening, right? And started poking me in the chest and going, where are your credentials for saying this? You shouldn't be saying this. You should shut up and get off this beach because you're affecting our income. And to those people, metaphorically, I'd like to poke you back much harder, because you are the who are actually actively increasing the risk of people's lives being harmed and adversely affected. Okay? And to you people who are going out of your way to come and find me and say, you're not qualified to make these observations. You're not qualified. Where are your qualifications? You shouldn't say this. You should show. I say this to you. Take the following words and rearrange them into a well-known phrase or sentence. Off fuck. Okay? Because you guys are causing avoidable suffering to other people by trying to prevent me raising the alarm for what I, so far, have not seen any evidence to say isn't going to happen. And it is going to happen. Now, I've now got a minority of mortgage brokers contacting me privately and saying, yep, Charlie, you're right. Right? This industry is headed for total, whatever you want, whatever word, to fill in the blank, whatever word you want. And I've had estate agents saying the same, who've known it since 6 months and said, yep, we've known for 6 months this is coming, and we are adjusting our business accordingly. These are good people who do not think it's okay to put other people's lives as a lower priority than their income. Okay? And when you read the experiences of people who've had negative equity and the effect it had on them, on their family, on their marriage, on their children, and you're still going to go out there and push people into making a commitment to a decision, the biggest decision of their lives, just before what is clearly, and every single day the papers are providing more and more and more evidence, as per this Resolution Foundation article, there's only one word to describe people who do that, who knowingly do that. They know they're making their customers sign up to something that's going to harm them in the long run, and they don't care, and they take the money anyway. I'm not going to say that word, but you know what it is. It bothers me. I don't know why. It bothers me when I see people who go out of their way to stitch people up just so that they can make their cut. Now, I'm not talking about the people who are in that industry and are also facing a difficulty of their own. They've got to feed their own family, pay their own bills, and they're really worried about how they're going to do that. And you're allowing people to continue transacting. That's up to them, but you're not actually forcibly pushing them into it. You're not giving them knowingly false advice to make them. Okay, there's not like, it's not black and white here. There is a spectrum of this being completely honest and telling people to avoid transacting now because of the level of risk, and the other end where you're actually telling them everything's actually fine when you know it's not, right? So there are people in the middle who, like, they know things aren't great, and they're not pushing people into it, but they've got to make a living too, and they're balancing their own need to make a living with the needs of their customers. And I have no problem with that. Needs must, and you've got to make ends meet. But as long as you're not knowingly throwing other people's life chances under the bus just to pay your bills, because in my view, that's not okay. And that makes you a parasite, is the most polite word I've got. All right. So, sorry, guys, this isn't really moving advice. This is me having a bit of a rant because I don't think it's okay. And I think it should be called out when people start actually going out of their way to stop people like me raising the alarm to help people avoid very bad life mistakes. Now, all I'm saying to everyone is, if you're a buyer, be ultra careful. And if you're going to buy now, just don't overpay. Just don't overpay. And that's always good advice, isn't it? But especially now, do not overpay if you must buy right now. If circumstances, for example, your mortgage offer is going to expire and you've got to exchange before it expires, I get that. You need to be in a house. Just don't overpay, all right? Just avoid it, because go and read the article in the Times about what negative equity is like. And please make sure you share and pass this video on and pass that article on the Times on to anyone that you think is at risk of putting themselves in harm's way. All right, because it's a family breaker, it's a morale breaker, it's a spirit breaker, it's a life crusher. I mean, as if life isn't hard enough for so many people. You really want to do this to yourself as well? I'm not saying don't buy. I'm just saying right now we've got massive uncertainty. Let's just wait for the dust to settle to see what the new reality is like. At the moment, the market's saying the new reality is 6% at least. Okay, for the foreseeable future, that's what the market's pricing in. 6% mortgage rates for the next 5 years is what's being priced in. Okay, according to that graph from the Resolution Foundation. So, one more large swig of my coffee flavored Guinness. I hope that was moderate. I hope I didn't overdo it. And now let's take some questions on this. Now, guys, I'm not here to get into politics before anyone starts. There's no politics. I don't do mortgage advice, so don't ask me about that. Ask me questions about the housing market and your move if you like. Okay, so let's now put this onto the screen and also take some questions if I've got any from TikTok. Robert on TikTok says, are those forced to sell as they can't afford their mortgage any more likely to rent or downsize? Okay, interesting question. There are already people who are going to be forced to sell because there's just no hope of making their mortgage payment once their fixed rate mortgage period comes to an end. And they've got three choices, right? Number one, sell before they get into negative, okay? And if they don't sell for the negative equity, they can't sell. So number one, sell fast to just get out there before you have negative equity. Number two, they could move out and rent it out, but that may not even be enough to make the mortgage payment. Number three, if you've got a spare room, you could rent out your spare room, so stay in the house, but have a lodger that may help make ends meet. Well, number four, although I don't think it helps. I mean, what happened in the 90s is some people just literally moved out of their house, put the keys to the house through the bank's door, and just left it. They didn't wait for the tsunami to hit them. They saw it was coming. They saw it, and they just ran effectively. Anyone expressing opinions of why you don't think there'll be a crash, please add your reasons. Otherwise, it's just pointless speculation. What's your reason why you don't think there's going to be a crash? Next question. Yeah. Francesca on TikTok says there are still people paying. So this is one of the other things that I'm really worried about. There are lots and lots of people out there still buying, thinking that prices are still going to go up because supply and demand or something. And they are still buying, they're offering asking price, they're buying asking price. And it's like watching people running into the sea for a swim when you know there's a tsunami coming and they're just ignoring the tsunami alarm or they haven't heard it. Which is why I'm asking people to spread this message. Okay, there's more and more and more and more evidence that this is happening and it's going to come. Okay, and yet there are still people going, no, it's going to be fine. No, you can't help those people. Can't help those people. Okay, if they've heard the warnings and chosen to disregard them, that's their choice. I get that. But there's a lot of it happening. And there are agents who genuinely think that there's not going to be a problem. There was an estate agent I heard interviewed in London today. He was on The World at One on Radio 4. And he said, I was really curious to hear, right, what's this agent going to say? He went, our buyer inquiries have fallen off a cliff. It's fallen off a cliff. Some of you are saying you're seeing house prices drop, which is good. Some of you are saying that they're not. Don't forget this, right? It's also highly localized everywhere. There are areas that will be more immune to price falls than others. And if you're a cash buyer out there looking, you are still going to find some real bargains out there. Not many, but some very motivated sellers who just want to get out. They just want to get out. And if you're right place, right time, you'll get those bargains. Jip Atkinson says, my house in the north is still holding its price. How do you know, Jip? How do you know it's holding its price? What makes you think that? I'd love to hear. How long could the slump last? Well, if interest rates stay at 6% for 5 years, then 5 years at least. Why is it that I have a business based around estate agency? I'm telling people this. That's an interesting question. Interesting question, Jack. My short answer to that question, which is why am I giving this advice if I've got a business that's based around a estate agency, is that I am trying. So the second part of my first part of my mission is a home for everyone. The second part of my mission, which is part of the step that's required to get to the first part, is the end. I want to help bring about the end of bad estate agency. So not all estate agents are bad. There are some excellent, supremely professional, very trustworthy estate agents out there. They're just the hardest ones to find because they don't shout the loudest, right? And they tell the truth. And when you tell the truth, you're punished by the public because the public says, oh, I don't believe you because what this guy says sounds better, so I'm going to believe him. And those are the guys who aren't truthful. So honest estate agents are in the minority. They're very, very hard to find. And the whole point of Best Agent is to force more estate agents to be honest, okay, and to behave better. So I know that what I'm doing is causing a lot of. I have had in the last week some very angry messages from estate agents, right? Even some of the honest ones, and I've had to point out to them, guys, what I'm telling you is actually in your interest because I'm going to help people set out to find honest estate agents, and I'm going to help people in my future videos on this channel. I'm going to help people learn how to spot the dishonest ones. I've got so much video to do on that, and I can't wait to do it. So I am, yes, Ben James, thank you. Short answer is ethics, exactly right. Let's take some. Okay. So CS Gannon asks me, what are the mortgage brokers saying exactly? So the two ends of the spectrum I'm getting from some of them, they're basically saying, you're breaking the law, you're not qualified to give advice, don't give advice, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about, you're going to get in trouble and you should shut up because you're breaking the law. Okay? That's what one end of mortgage brokers are saying to me. And the other ones are saying to me privately, you're absolutely right, we're seeing the same. And we also agree that you don't sign people up just to make a fee, because if you're someone that likes to sleep at night, then you don't do that. And I'm getting people, no. The new inquiries falling off a cliff, that's what the estate agents have said, not mortgage brokers. But actually, I have heard from a mortgage broker that I trust that he has been told firsthand by one of the biggest names in the high street for mortgage lending that they have seen a 50% reduction in new inquiries. All right. Finding an honest estate agent is like trying to find an honest politician. Well, that's a fairly lazy generalization. Not all politicians are liars, right? Sadly, the two politicians that got murdered for being good politicians, that one from Labour and one from the Tories, were both known as being honest ones. It's the same. You can't generalize like that. They're not all dishonest. Most of them, yes. And the other thing you've got to understand is this, right? Because of the behavior of some of the most powerful estate agents in terms of the dishonesty, the policies, internal policies of dishonesty, right? They create an environment that forces other estate agents into the same game, or they just get no business. So there is a significant, and I would call it like 1/3 of estate agents who engage in this suboptimal approach to their business, to put it kindly, reluctantly, because if they don't, they just get no business. And the whole point of Best Agent is that it's hopefully going to force a change, because Best Agent will dismantle the power structure in the estate agency industry, which is a very small number of very large companies that currently hold that power structure, and that's what I want to change. Let's take another question. Craig Wood says, the government for the last 12 years has artificially pumped up. Hold on a second. Oh, so many questions coming through that I can't actually scroll. The government for the last 12 years has artificially pumped up house prices through policy. Why on earth would they stop now when the market is turning and the economy is built on the housing market? Good question. One answer, inflation. All right. So the Bank of England, which is not part of the government, is putting up interest rates, not the government. Right. The Bank of England is putting up interest rates to stop inflation getting out of control. Okay. The government can't stop them doing that, in a nutshell. And inflation is more damaging than high interest rates. Okay, so that's why. So the government isn't stopping anything. The government hasn't even set interest rates. And what happened since the last financial crisis was always going to be temporary. They've been quantitative easing for 13 years, and it couldn't go on forever. Peter Galliot says, do I need security yet? I have had one threat that I was unable to tell whether it was a joke or serious. But hey, guys, I can't offer opinions on different kinds of properties and different kinds of things. It's all, you've got to figure that out for yourself at a local level, because it's different everywhere. All right, it's different everywhere. So someone asks me here, Joanna Zian asks me, do I understand correctly that the negative equity is dangerous mainly because if the rate stays high, you may end up with banks refusing a mortgage? No, that's a separate problem. Joanna, that can happen even if you're not in negative equity. Negative equity is when your house is worth less than the outstanding mortgage you've got to pay off. Right. Advice on how to know if you're overpaying, says Francesca on TikTok. That's a very good question. Okay, how do you know if you're overpaying? If there is a bidding frenzy on a property right now, walk away, unless you're a cash buyer. Right? These suggestions are always aimed at people with large mortgages and small deposits. That is the group of people I'm trying to help avoid negative equity. Okay, so if there's a bidding frenzy on a property, walk away, right? Because whoever gets it is going to be overpaying. You just have to walk away. You got to keep looking at other properties until you find one where there's no one else bidding, or maybe just one other person bidding, and you can offer a price that you feel comfortable at. And the direct answer to your question, Francesca, is that you will know. I get panicked messages from people saying, look, we've had this offer accepted, and our gut feel is that we're overpaying. Well, there's your answer, right? You'll know. If you have this deep feeling of dread in the pit of your stomach that our offer is accepted, we're about to exchange at the price that we made 3 or 4 or 5 months ago, we do want the property, but we now feel like we're overpaying and going to be at risk. That is how you know you're overpaying. Okay? How do you know when you're not overpaying? Is when the price that's been accepted makes you still excited to be buying that house and moving in, and there's no deep sense of dread. That's how to know, right? Remember, there's 3 things that cause the value of a property. It's desirability, the seller's reasons for selling and motivation, urgency and everything else, and the buyer's position, how quickly they can move. Those 3 things combined end up determining what price a property actually sells for. Yeah, Joe Brown, follow your gut instinct. Always do that exactly. Are the days of 5-10% deposit mortgages gone now for the time being? I don't think so. There are still, actually, I heard, this is interesting. So on Radio 4 today, the chairman of NatWest Bank, it's a big mortgage lender, was being asked the question by the broadcaster Simon Jack, saying, what do you think is going to happen to house prices? And he said, well, NatWest is still lending. We're still lending. He said, but when Simon Jack said, yeah, but do you think there's going to be a correction or a crash? His answer was, well, I hope it's just a correction. And I think, to me, that said everything. He's hoping. Why would you have to hope for a correction unless you believe that it's going to be worse than that, right? And the house prices are going to. So the answer is they'll still make offers if you've got a deposit, but it'll depend on the valuation of the property. And someone on YouTube just asked, are there still surveyors downvaluing properties? And the answer is yes. I get messages every day from people telling me that that's happened, that the price is being agreed on a property and the mortgages are coming down and downvaluing it. The surveys are downvaluing it. Will a surveyor be on the buyer's side? No, surveyors are on the mortgage lender's side. That's the side they're on. They do take the market into account when doing their survey. Absolutely, yes, very much so. And actually, you can read more into what's happening with house prices by what mortgage surveyors are doing than anything else, right? Why do you think that mortgage lenders have removed whatever it is, 60% of all the products that were here in December last year are now gone? I haven't made all estate agents angry. I've made some estate agents angry, and I've still got some estate agents saying, congratulations for telling the truth. Okay. And someone else said to me today, you know you're on target when you start taking flack. I'd never heard that expression, but that is a very, very cool expression that I like the sound of. Any more questions from you guys on TikTok? Okay, so Annie Anonymous, I get this question a lot. Will house prices fall enough to offset the rise in interest rates? That is a simple mathematical calculation that you can only make dependent on the property that you're buying and the cost of your mortgage and the size of your deposit. There is no general answer to that question, okay? There is no general answer to the question, will house price falls outweigh the increase in mortgages? You just got to get a calculator out and do the maths for a property that you find. Right. Any more questions, guys? Otherwise, I'm going to be wrapping it up soon. Someone says, do I think interest rates will stabilize soon? It's too early to say. Okay. Until the 31st of October. So we've got two things we're waiting for to find out whether or not. Okay. Let me put a question this way. When will things stabilize again? Well, I think things will stabilize if Liz Truss stays as Prime Minister and the efforts to remove her dissipate. I'm not saying this is what I want or this is what I think is a good thing. I think these are the circumstances under which there will be some stability. And if on the 31st of October, Jeremy Hunt's new mini budget or fiscal statement calms the money markets. And if the money markets get calm and the political uncertainty subsides, then you will see a chance of the market to restore some normality. It won't be back to like it was before, not for a very long time, if ever, but it will. What you will see happen if that stability materializes is you'll see mortgage products start to come back onto the market as money market certainty returns, swap market volatility reduces. That's what will happen. So that's what needs to happen for the soonest calming of mortgage market rates and markets, not rates, but the markets, right? Is Jeremy Hunt stays in place, Liz Truss stays in place, and his fiscal statement on 31st of October is met positively by the money markets. I'm not predicting that's going to happen. I've got no idea what's going to happen. Okay. So the big questions are they going to try and get rid of Liz Truss or not? Because if they do, if they get rid of her, that means that Jeremy Hunt will probably get changed again as well, which will just cause meltdown in the money markets. But there is also more stuff happening on a wider range, which is this. On the global economic level, there are major. I'll just quickly share this article with you here. You can just see the headline. Yeah, this is worth just sharing with you very briefly, guys. Hold on a second while I get on screen. So this is the Bloomberg article. Liz Truss is a harbinger of financial doom. And then basically it goes on to say, they talk about the Liz Truss versus the lettuce, that she's no longer in charge. The treasury market is increasingly risky, and high interest rates are at least helping banks. So tomorrow, Monday, the 17th of October, is either going to be the day that the money markets go, actually, we're calmer again now that Jeremy Hunt's in place, or it's the day that meltdown is going to ensue, and I have got no idea which one it's going to be. I mean, I think so. The last thing on Friday was that gilt yields were climbing back up again to their highest, which is a bad sign. Okay, that's a really bad sign of money markets not being confident. But over the weekend, that might change, and on tomorrow, Monday, they might come back down again. But if they don't, it's just not going to be good. So interest rates in America were worse than expected. Sorry, inflation was worse than expected, means that US interest rates are going up. That has a ripple effect on the rest of the world, as does what's happening in China. So if I was a gambling man, if you said to me, Charlie, you've got to place your money on the markets being calm tomorrow and being happy or not, it's really close. I'd probably gamble that they're not, but it would be a total gamble. It would be a total guess. I don't know. I think I'd probably prefer to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. I mean, what they might do is they might just go into a holding pattern of stay with volatility. So they'll be up and down a lot, but relatively stable, waiting for the 31st of October, or waiting to see if Liz Truss gets kicked out. I heard one comment from a Tory MP today on the radio saying the next 7 days could be interesting because she may or may not survive the next 7 days. So let's see. Annie Anonymous says, is it mad to offer 15 to 20% off a property at this point in time? Well, it depends on how crazy the asking price is, okay? It's not mad, no. Yeah, I know that there are MPs coming out calling for her to change. I don't know. I don't know. It's a massive dilemma for the Tory party. It's going to come down to whether they put themselves ahead of the country or not. I think so. Guys, when you ask me questions about which types of properties are affected more or less, I can't answer because it's too local. It's very, very different. It depends which city. It'll be different from one city to the next. It'll be different from one rural area to the next. It'll depend on distances for commuting, all kinds of stuff. So there is no general houses will do better than flats or won't. There's no I don't think there's any answer to that. Okay, Joe Brown says, Joe Brown is saying that I put a house price drop prediction thing on Twitter earlier about the fact they've already dropped in effect due to interest rate rise. Can you expand a bit on that? Okay, yes. Does everybody remember, if you watched my videos from a while back, I talked a lot about the time lag in price reporting. You've got the three A's of house prices: asking prices, agreed prices, and actual prices, right? Asking price is what we see publicly, and there's lots of public data on that, right? And I've got access to that data as well. Agreed prices, there's no public data for that, because that's effectively a provisional price that's agreed between the buyer and the seller when the agent ties the deal up. And then there is a lot of change between what happens between the agreed price and the actual price, which is if the deal stays together, whether it continues at the same price or whether it gets renegotiated. Now, what I'm saying is that today, the agreed prices, this is my speculation and conjecture and guesswork, whatever you want to call it, right, is that agreed prices today, when they're finally reported months from now, will show that in some parts of the country, they were already 10 to 15% off the highs. And we still don't know exactly what highs were and when they were. I think what we saw in July, July's figures, I think that's going to be, which were deals agreed in January, February, March, will be the highs. So I think the actual agreed prices peaked in the first quarter of 2022. I think the actual prices that were reported were in Q3, which chimes with the time lag between agreed and actual. So that's why you're seeing July prices as 15% up on the year before. But in my view, based on the increasing numbers of reports I'm getting day by day, there are already people. I got someone today who said to me that my August video about the 8 reasons I think thought house prices were going to fall actually persuaded him to drop his price 5% back in August, and he's glad he did, because he's glad he took a 5% now hit back then. So that's it. Hope that answers the question. Sorry, I can't remember who it was that answered that question. Any more questions from you TikTok guys? Chris Roberts says, I'm 42. Have I lost the chance of getting a mortgage? I'm not a mortgage broker, Chris, but I don't think so. I don't think that stops you. No, because I know 70-year-old people who've got a mortgage. Is it sensible to increase the length of mortgage and make overpayments in your own time? That's a calculation. So for people who are worried about their mortgage rate going up to something that becomes unaffordable, you do have the option of extending your mortgage term potentially. Your lender might agree to extend it from 25 years to 35 years, which will reduce your only if it's a repayment mortgage. This won't work for an interest-only mortgage. It will, and I don't need to be a mortgage broker to say this, right? This is like fact. Everyone knows this. If you extend the period of your repayment, it will reduce the repayment element of your mortgage. But over the long term, you'll end up paying a lot more for that mortgage, but maybe be able to pay it off early in later years, depending on the early repayment clause. I'm not a mortgage expert, but it is one thing that you can do. So you can do that. You can rent out a spare room to a lodger maybe, and somehow get through if you're in that situation where you're worried about being able to hold on to your house. Ryan says, hi Charlie, are you going to get an estate agent back on to ask how the market is? I've got so many people. Guys, things have been so hectic in the last couple of weeks. I haven't known which way is up or down. I've been absolutely rushed off my feet because this isn't even my main job doing these videos, okay? My main job is running Best Agent and building the tech and the platform, and as well as homeschooling my children along with my partner. She'd be cross if I didn't. It's obviously mostly her, but me as well doing it, and a number of other things that I'm doing as well. So I've got so much more. I've got a long backlog of videos to record to put out there to help you guys. Should we be offering 2019 prices, says Simeon Nedyalkov? I mean, that's the highest I'd be offering, 2019 prices if it was me. Do I think affordability checks will get more stringent? Asks Charlotte on TikTok. Yes, I do. They already have, in fact, as far as I'm aware. Why did I decide to homeschool my kids? If you go and Google why we homeschool our kids, Charlie Lambden, on Google, you'll find my YouTube video that answers that question. It's a long answer to that question. How long in the future do I plan on doing these videos and running these streams? Okay. Craig Wood asks, how long into the future do you plan on doing these videos and running these streams? It's nice having another perspective on the market while I weigh my options. I'm planning on continuing this Moving Home with Charlie channel until my mission has been accomplished of a home for everyone. So for a very long time yet, because it's going to take a long time, at least 10 years, I should think. That's the answer to that. Sellers market sentiment will change in January, official figures. Sorry, is that a statement or a question, Peter? And yes, I do need some comment moderators, actually. Right, guys, we're approaching an hour. We're way over what I plan to do. So I'm also, my coffee flavored Guinness is getting warm, making it even more revolting. And if you've got questions on renegotiation, go to YouTube. You'll see I've done a video called How to Renegotiate. Yeah, guys, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here for a long time. How are your kids doing on economics? Asked Peter Gaddett. Well, they're only 5 and 7 and 3 months old, so we're not there yet. You're welcome, guys. Everyone that's thanking me, you're very welcome. Thank you very much indeed for coming to my videos and listening to me ramble on. Could I beat Martin Lewis in a fight, says C.S. Gannon. I think me and Martin Lewis in the fight probably look like Hugh Grant and Colin, what's his name, in Bridget Jones's Diary, fighting outside that restaurant doing that. That's about how I fight. The way I fight is turn around and run away as fast as I can. And yes, it's great fun. I love talking to you guys. I love your comments. Keep on sending me your questions. If you got them on Instagram, is a really good place to send me your questions, because I can respond with an audio clip, which makes it much easier to respond more quickly. Twitter, moving_Charlie on Twitter is the best place to have day-to-day updates. And on Twitter is where I chime in several times a day to update on what's happening as real time as I can. So moving_Charlie on Twitter, or there's a link underneath my YouTube description and also on my TikTok profile to my link tree, was got a link to my websites and all my socials, so follow me wherever you want, and to my LinkedIn profile, that kind of stuff. It's got a link to my personal YouTube channel, which is just purely about my personal vlog. And on that note, I'm going to force the rest of this down and wish you all a very peaceful, quiet, happy Sunday evening. Love and luck to everybody, including my detractors and my. I welcome people who are disagreeing with me and even criticizing me if it's constructive. I welcome everyone except for the people who are literally trying to drag me off the beach to stop me what I'm doing. You guys, you know what you can do. Good night, guys. On that happy note, lots of love. Bye-bye.